Reverend Phil Passantino is an interfaith minister based in New Jersey, who has spoken in UU fellowships from the Poconos to Ireland. He's known for his unique and meaningful weddings, baptisms, funerals for people of all faith backgrounds. He's also a singer and guitarist who performs oldies, standards, and his own original spiritual songs. Today, he played the lira for us, which is an instrument from Zimbabwe. And while he was in college, curiosity led him to explore the iChing, and the wisdom he found there really resonated with him. It remains one of the many spiritual areas that he's been exploring ever since. Now please welcome Reverend Phil.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me here. Thanks to Casey and Jill as well for all your help. It's great to be here. I live in New Jersey, so it's just a little bit warmer here than it is where I'm from. So thank you. You give me an excuse to come out here and enjoy this beautiful sunshine, although I guess it's a little chilly for you all. It's like paradise for me. Anyway, I want to talk about the iChing, or I think in Chinese it's the iChing, how you say it? It's a very old book. It has its roots about 3,500 years ago. And the book is modeled after patterns of natural phenomena. Since the laws of nature haven't changed that much in 3,500 years, the book's principles are very much alive and relevant as a way of understanding nature and human events. If you want to translate the word iChing, it means the book about changes, or the classic be-all, end-all book about change. As they say, the only constant in life is change. So that's the kind of change we're talking about. The changes of our lifetimes, the changes of the passing years, different changes and transitions that we go to. The iChing is an attempt at mapping all those changes in our lives and mapping out every possible situation that can happen to us in life. The main message of the book is that the same forces that are governing the orbits of the planets, stars, and galaxies are also governing the laws of human life, the laws of our relationships, the laws of even human politics. According to the book, the best way to be a leader in the world is to emulate the forces of nature, really. So it's kind of a study in those less understood, less noticed forces all around us, which we can use to shape our lives and the lives of the world. When you do a reading with the iChing, which is often used as a fortune-telling kind of thing, think of it as an EKG of the present moment. Basically, you roll the coins a few times, there's a few different ways to do that, and you obtain a reading, which gives you kind of advice for a situation, or just a way of looking at your situation that you might not have thought of before. With all the fortune-telling types of things, whether it's tarot cards or what have you, it's not necessarily foretelling the future as much as just giving you a different lens to look at what you're going through. That's what I think is the best way to go about it. So I'm going to tell you a bit about how the iChing came to be. So let's go back to China about 3,500 years ago, 1500 BC or so. The emperor was having his priests heat up the shoulder bones of cattle, also heat up turtle shells in the fire, and the way they would see how the bones or the shells cracked would then foretell like a certain path for the king to take, so to speak. This was an attempt to find out the proper course of action from the ancestors, from the gods. Of course, the king would make educated decisions about what he wanted to do, but they always felt that they should consult the unseen world, the mysterious world, and just see if he could give a different perspective on things that the king might not be able to think of himself. Remember, this is the same culture that later gave us fortune cookies, so they were always into trying to figure out fortunes. And that was the way they did it back then. Let's say you're a king in China around that time. You have a question for the spirits, something like, should I ford the river? Is now a good time to attack the neighboring kingdom? You might have your priest say a prayer, meditate on the question, and then do some way of obtaining a reading. The common way in the beginning was using yarrow stalks. Yarrow is a plant that's sacred in ancient China. You would take a certain amount of stalks, and there was a very precise way they figured out of basically shuffling the stalks around to get a certain yes or no answer. Kind of like shuffling cards, but using plants. And actually, a few centuries later, coins, the earliest coins were invented in China around 1100 BC. So then they were using coins to foretell. And that's what I'll talk about today, because we can all relate to flipping a coin. Pretty easy to understand. So let's say that you flip a coin, you ask a question, Heads means yes, tails means no. You could even take it a step further. Heads means act, take action. Tails means don't take action, or yield in some way, or be passive. So they would ask their question, and they would get that answer. That's like the simplest kind of answer you can get. And of course, to preserve the answer in the official government records, they would take a scroll and they would write down a notation for if they got a yes or a no that day. So I'm going to give you an example of what they might have been writing. Basically, if you got a yes, you would, or an action answer, you would write a solid line. Something like this. It's a solid line. That's yes, or go, act. The broken line represented a no, or a don't act, don't go. So that's pretty simple, yes or no. As time went on, the king thought, is there a way we can get some more information from God about what we have to do? I need some more details, So they thought, all right, well, how about we roll twice in a row instead of just rolling the coin once. So they rolled twice in a row, and then they would get two lines on top of each other. So whatever they rolled, the last time they rolled would always go on top, the more recent rolling, because that's the present moment, and that's the most important. So say the first time they rolled, they got a yes, then they roll the coin again, and they get a no. They would write the no above it like that. Or this time, maybe they rolled a no first, the second time they rolled a yes, they write the yes above it. Of course, there's also, maybe you roll two no's, so that would be two broken lines. Or you might roll two yeses. They started to read into this really, really a lot, if you ask me. But basically, they read into this as if you get a no, it's don't act, it's be passive, retreat. If you get two no's, it's definitely like, okay, hold back, chill out, relax, don't act. Okay, if you get two yeses, that's a little more powerful. That's definitely, okay, the gods are telling us, take action. It's no doubt about it, because we got the same thing twice. Now say you got a yes, but then you got a no, that might mean that maybe before was the time to act and you missed it, and now's the time to relax. Or here, maybe before was the time to rest, but now you've got some new action, new energy coming into your life. So you can see how that goes like that. As time went on, they played with this some more. Just exploring the way humans do, exploring possibilities with this stuff. They decided to roll 3 times in a row. And this was kind of a breakthrough for them. So you get 3 lines. It's like a 3-part answer. And I'll show you that. So basically, there's 8 combinations of 3 lines. Obviously, that's the possibilities with that. And then as they read into them more, based on something like this, 3 yeses, or 3 action responses, or as they would say in Chinese, yang means action, so that would be the most powerful thing we know. So to them, the most powerful thing we know is heaven. So this represents heaven, this represents God, divinity. Also represents the creative force in this world, not only the creative force that made the whole universe, whether that's God or the spirit of life, or just creativity itself, but that certainly was of the highest veneration of the ancient Chinese. Creativity, the creativity that forged this world and that we can use to create our lives and to create things on this earth. So if you got something like this, it's called heaven, the creative. And that basically means now's your time to create something of lasting value. The other token, if you get 3 no's or 3 yielding, that would be, what's the most receptive thing on this earth? And actually, it turns out the most receptive thing is the earth. Because everything else is on top of the earth. The earth receives everything. The earth supports everything. And what this came to represent, if you pulled 3 no's in your answer, basically it means be receptive. Maybe follow someone else's lead. Don't try to take the lead. Take a back seat. And sometimes there's a time in life for that. And I'm sure a lot of you, as I say each of these, there will be some of you who probably can relate to that and what maybe you're going through right now. So there's being creative, there's being receptive, and then all these other ones represent sources of nature, but there's a symbolism to them. So you have thunder, which represents shock, represents being scared, fearful, or sudden surprises that you didn't expect. Of course, we know what thunder is like. Thunder can be a bit scary, so you can easily see how they got that one. Water represents flowing on no matter what your circumstances are. And in here, there's a strong line within, and it's easily flowing to the receptive lines on either side. So to them, that represented water flowing easily wherever it has to go. If you obtained a reading involving water, it might mean that you're going through some danger or just a bad time. But the counsel that the book would give is just go on, flow on the way water does. Water isn't afraid of any dangerous plunge. You know, you think of a waterfall, like Niagara Falls, well, that's back east, but you know, any waterfall, if you were the water going over the waterfall, it would take a lot of faith to let yourself go over that plunge. So that's the lesson of when you receive a message containing water, have faith. Go through that dangerous time, and you'll come out on the other side, okay? So it's really a symbol of faith. We also have fire. Fire represents brightness, of course. And to the ancient Chinese, it represents the brightness of culture, the highest form of culture, and how it nourishes our spirit, nourishes our soul. The mountain represents keeping still, and we have all these beautiful mountains around us here, I see. A mountain is unmovable. It's just there. It doesn't go anywhere. So to the Chinese, that was a symbol of keeping still, meditation, rest, just taking a rest, you know. And being still is very important to movement. You know, being still and movement are two sides of the same coin. You go until you can't go anymore, and you have to rest. And you rest as much as you want until, you know, eventually it leads to you doing something. So that's an important part of the cycle of events as well. We have the wind, which represents gentleness, you know, the gentleness of a breeze on your cheek. And this is the symbol of something that's very gentle, but yet it gets everything done. I mean, you think about the wind in the springtime, blowing all the seeds around, getting all the plants planted pretty much. And the wind is the gentlest way of doing that. It also represents, you know, maybe you want to undertake something big, and so each day you drop a little, you know, pebble in the bucket. At the end, you've got a big mountain full of pebbles. You know, it's achieving something big, but just through a slow, gradual process that really lasts, leaves lasting results. Finally, we have the lake, which represents being happy, happiness, joyousness. We're all kind of pooled here like the lake, meaning, you know, friends and family gathered here for fellowship, to help each other, be positive with each other, and enjoy fellowship. So that would be a symbol of us. So anyway, these are called the trigrams, because tri means three, so 3 lines is a trigram. The real breakthrough, the quantum leap in fortune-telling technology was when they decided to roll 6 times instead of 3 times. It's been crazy, right? So, because that would give you 6 lines, but since they have 3 groups of 3 lines representing something, you would have 2 different forces of nature interacting with each other. And once they did this, it kind of blew their minds, and the iChing was born from that, because there's 64 different possibilities for that. It represents basically 64 situations in life, even more than that, because each of the lines can be changing. Each facet of your situation can be changing because nothing stays the same. So, you know, I don't know how much, it gives probably thousands of different variations, but basically trying to outline the thousands of different situations that can arise in our lives. And so they put two trigrams together, you get a hexagram, which is 6 lines, hex means 6. And I'll give you some examples of these. There's actually the hexagram for fellowship. They gave titles to these also. So there's a hexagram for fellowship, which is what we're doing today. And that is fire under heaven. This is fire under heaven. It just looks like a bunch of lines to us, but that's the symbol for fellowship, that we're gathered, or people are gathered around a fire, whether it's a campfire or a chalice, and they're sharing fellowship with each other for spirituality, for friendship, for love. So it's interesting that the ancient symbol of fellowship is still accurate because we're still gathering around this fire today and offering our thoughts up to heaven, as it were. So there's so many different combinations for these hexagrams. Basically, they represent all different situations in your life. And now I'm just going to talk about a little of the lessons that we can learn from the iChing. I could even do a sample reading, perhaps. I'm know if there's anything we would want to ask as a fellowship. Are there any pressing questions that you might like to ask? We could do a fellowship reading. Could be fun.
They're looking for a minister. Are we going to find?
So, all right, maybe I have a volunteer to ask that question and roll the coins, and then we'll
Go ahead.
That question going to be have we heard this?
actually do some changes.
Yeah, you're right, it's not a yes or no.
If you can, yeah.
The question about our ministry, period.
What am I asking people?
About are we going to embrace our new minister?
It's not,
Are we going to love and embrace our new minister, and is our new minister going to love and embrace us?
It's off the charts, it's off the charts. on that one.
off the charts.
So, what you're going to do, basically this side, each coin is representing an amount of 2. This side represents an amount of 3. It's the yang, the action of the go side, heads. So you're going to add up what you got. So if you got 3 on this side, you can add those up. Each one's 3. How much would that be? That would be, whoops. That would be 9. Marker self-distress. So then if it's an odd number, it's a solid line. If it's an even number, it's a broken line. So 9 is a solid. So you can write this down here. Start at the bottom so you get a leave space. I'm writing a nice long solid line. As long as you can, keep going. Everyone's perfect. Okay, now since if you get a 6 or a 9, that means the situation is already changing and you get like a special message in the book that you can read. So that was a 9, so something's already changing here, so you're going to make an X there. There we have to read this special commentary, okay? And now roll again. You got to roll 5 more times. Same thing. All right, we got another changing line, so it's going to be another. Give yourself more space, a little higher.
Another X?
Yes. That's a 3, 6, 8. So that's a broken line. Even is broken. Ends up being bien.
So just
Broken line with the attached line. Just two of them. One, now the other one. Perfect. Okay, 3 more to go. So already we see the lake. The bottom one is the lake, which represents joy. 247. These are 247. That's a solid line. It's another yang. And no, you don't have to write it now because it's changing. Okay, oh, that's okay. So that's another 9. That's a 9.
a lot of changing lines.
That's what you're seeing when she puts something.
Yes.
So how do you know that?
Well, heads means one value, like 1 means 2 and 1 means 3, and then you add them up. This is the last one. Make it count.
Maybe he's using new person.
That's an 8. It's going to be 8. That's a broken. Okay. Okay, so that looks like the lake over the lake, which is the symbol of a lot of joy. Okay, joyousness. Yeah, the markers here. It's basically the joyous. Let me look up and I can read you those special messages as well. And you can get the iChing at any library, any bookstore. I mean, they're everywhere, you know. There's the kind of king of the translations was made by someone named Richard Wilhelm, a German, in the earlier part of this century, and it's kind of like the reference translation. You could start with that. This is one that's come out recently by Stephen Karcher that's really cool, but it gets kind of esoteric, you know, so it's not maybe the best one to start with. That's what I have today. So I'll just read a little of this. He translates this as being open to expression, communication, self-expression, opportunity, pleasure, joy, excitement. But basically, you know, the joyous means, you know, being joyous and being based on true joy instead of things that only bring fleeting joy. So for an individual, you know, the individual lines talk about things like the joyousness of true friendship or true relationships, being focused on what's right, trying to make a difference in the world. And then there's other lines that talk about being seduced and how that's, you know, that can bring some joyousness too, but it's not maybe the highest form of joyousness. It's not something that's going to help you in the long run. There's temptation is another one of the lines, talking about being tempted. And you might think that's going to bring you joy, but again, it's kind of an empty joy. So these are what all the lines talk about. And so you've got the first two changing. Let me have my other translation here. It'll be a little better. Just pull it.
Sure. Oh, yeah.